Well, thank you for joining us today for The Connecting Place. Today we're going to talk about what to do with your home if you've had a mold problem in the home and you've decided to move. You're not renting, but you own the home. What do you do? Do you sell it? Do you burn it? Joining me for this program is my husband, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you, Andrea. And I have to say, when you were on my program, Chris Fabry Live, we had a call that came in after the program that didn't get on, and this is what it sounded like.
Hi, I'm listening to your show right now about mold and just wondering what you do to sell a house in good conscience that you know has mold in it that hasn't been addressed. I mean, listening to people buying new homes, but what do you do with the one that's contaminated? Thanks.
This is a great question, and I'm first let's talk about our own experience and the decision we made, because everybody asks us that. Those who are not familiar with our story, you can read my blog to learn more, but we decided to vacate the home. We treated it like a fire. We had remediated it 2 times. It was pretty clean, but...
And it costs a lot of money.
And
Can we say that?
Yes, we can. We walked away. We had a break from the bank. What do you remember what that is called?
For something.
Forbearance.
Forbearance. Thank you.
Yes, we had that for more than a year.
And the only reason they gave it to us was because there was legal action. When they heard, and I can remember, I can take you back to the parking lot I was sitting in when the lady called and she said, because there's legal action here, we're going to set this aside. Now, you still owe, you're still going to owe this money, but you're not going to, while the legal thing is going, you're not going to have to pay us the monthly rent. But then at the end of that, if something happens, then you're still going to owe this same amount, and you have to pay the interest on the loan and all that kind of stuff. So it meant that what it meant was we could afford to rent a house in that community and not have to pay the mortgage too. So that's that was such a relief.
That is a possible course of action. You can ask the bank for a forbearance if it is uninhabitable for you, for your family. You can ask for that. That may or may not happen. They gave us the forbearance. The legal action helped us. That legal action didn't come through, and that's a whole separate program. But for us, that didn't work, so then the forbearance was gone. Then what do we do? Some people face this decision immediately. Do we foreclose? Do we declare bankruptcy? Do we sell the house, as that caller was asking? Now, why don't you review what we ended up doing?
Well, I want to go back to us getting out of the house and the emotions that we were going through and the feeling of, I don't want anybody to go through what we've gone through. And we were very altruistic at that point and saying, this is I don't want to see other kids go through what our kids have gone through, and let's burn it. We had considered giving it to the fire department to do a controlled burn so that they learn how to do that kind of thing. And the further we went down that road, the more we learned about mold. I think we would do it differently today.
Yes, looking back, we were so conscientious about this not happening to others. We had remediated that home twice. There is another family living there. As it turns out, we couldn't solve that. People are exposed to so many things. It's different for everybody. We had replaced carpeting. We had redone the bathrooms. It was pretty clean. And looking back, if we were to do it again, we would sell it as is. And that is the heart of the question. I don't want this to happen to anybody. Ethically, can I sell it as is? And looking back, this is my perspective now, I would sell it as is with full disclosure. What about you?
Right, full disclosure, telling them, here's the history, here's what has happened. And not to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. What we actually did, there was a fellow that we met who helped us with the remediation process and who had seen this happen to other families before. And he knew of the distress that we were going through and the distress that the house had gone through. And he said, there are investors who will invest in this kind of thing, take it down to the studs and then bring it back, or do whatever they have to do, replace carpet, make sure that things are clean, and then resell it. And that way it comes, we take it off your hands, and the investors come in and they hope that they're going to make some money on it. Well, at this point, we had been through the legal process for a year. We knew that the forbearance was ending because of like you say, Andrea, that's another program. Don't want to get into the all of that. And this group said, we will buy it from you. How much do you want for this house? And at that point, I said, what we owe on it is what I want. I want to get out from under this. And they said, okay, we'll do that. We'll pay you what you owe. Tell us what you owe, and then we'll make sure that this all goes through. And it was kind of pins and needles. We actually received the funds for the house on the day before it was to go into foreclosure, because there was a process after the forbearance, and it was such a heavy weight to carry. And I can still remember calling the mortgage company with the phone number and hearing the account balance is zero. And the feeling of just freedom. We had lost so much money. It was, we sold it for a song is what we did. But you have to think about what is that going to do to the weight on your back when you get that off of you and the financial things that you're going through and all the doctor's bills and everything else that we were paying. Just to have that removed was such a weight.
So the scenarios, there are a myriad of scenarios. You can foreclose, just walk away. That many people have done that. I don't know if that lifts the weight. You could sell it as is, and that legally and ethically is the best thing to do, is not to hide it, because that could come back. And if you've been through this and you've been made sick from a home, you understand you don't want that to happen to everybody. But I do want to encourage our listeners, if you're in the early stages of this, looking back, I wish we would have just taken care of us and our family sooner and been strong in that, and with full disclosure, sell that home as is. And if maybe we couldn't, then maybe we could go to sell it for the cost of our loan. Honestly, I don't look back and have huge regrets about this. Do you?
Yeah, no, I don't, because we were doing the best we could. We were trying to navigate something that we'd never gone through, and there was no real roadmap that we could find. And so that's what I'm hoping, just this conversation here today, especially for the man. I don't want to be sexist about this, but I think that I was carrying the weight of the providing for the family, shelter for the family. Andrea was carrying more of the weight of what's going on with our health, how do we move forward. And so this was the best thing that I could think of to do at the time. And as you say, I would do it differently today. I would not only fully disclose, I would write a letter or, describe in detail. Here's what we went through. Here's what we did to clean this home. We can't live there anymore. That's the other thing we've learned. A family that's been through this, who has had the remediation and had the exposure, that living in that house, we couldn't have done it, both emotionally as well as physically, But another family that's coming in with the levels of mold that we had tested for, they would have probably done fine given their DNA, and the things. You can talk more about that, Andrea. But I would do it differently, but I don't beat myself up for what we did.
Right. So we're not giving a roadmap, obviously, because there isn't one. But I want to encourage you, if you are in this position, to take care of you and your family. Consider what's best to move forward for you and your family. And I hope that's helpful. And Chris, thank you for being here.
Great to be here. Glad the information's there.
And thank you for listening to The Connecting Place.